This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. We have been following a hyena from the Djuma clan known as Heart, who has been leading us through the thicket, but I'm following her because I want to find the den. So, everyone, it's that wonderful time of morning for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome on board, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here on the back of my safari vehicle and many others across Africa. My name is Lauren. I do have Niels on camera, and just in front of us we do have Heart. I can still see her, but she's really not being very obliging this morning. Her tummy is, here's a termite mound. This could be very interesting. Her tummy is swollen. She's one of the mothers. She has 2 cubs, and I am determined to find this den. I'm going crazy. I don't know where the Djuma clan den is right now. I've checked Philemon's, and then I went down to Treehouse and we saw Heart. So before I forget that this, of course, is your safari. We're doing it for you. You must talk to us. Send in your comments and questions. You now head over to the website, WildEarth.tv, and you can ask questions that we will hopefully be able to answer on the website. Okay, now I have lost heart. This is a bit of a mission that I've set myself up for here. But I just feel if she's been active all night, if she's been feeding, her belly's huge. Then it's time to go to the den now. It's time to suckle. It's time to see the cubbies. That's why I'm following her, but I wonder if maybe we can't go any further. You can follow a leopard off-road. You can follow lions. Following a hyena is another story, and I have just stalled, so I think that is time to now send you over to another feed somewhere in Africa.
Jumbo, everyone, another beautiful and dry morning. It's been raining here all night, but it's beautiful that we have a fantastic morning. This morning, my mission was to go look for these lions, but they're right here, wandering around their territory. That is our local male, or Lashe, and he's out and about in his territory. Jumbo, everyone, my name is Isaac. This morning, our mission is to look for lions, and our weather is amazing. It's just perfect, and we're going to head out look for more lions, but we appreciate what we have at the moment. This is how it looks right now, right here where I am. It's a nice cloudy, but the sun seems to want to come out. Remember to talk to us, #WildEarth. Question, comments are very, very welcome. Our weather this morning for the Mara is just amazing. We are at 16 degrees Celsius. Remember, talk to us on #WildEarth. Also, you can send in your kids' question at WildEarth TV and also at FC. You can also go to our website and send in some questions at WildEarth.tv. That is Kijana. And it looks like he's looking for something. He's just been roaring and walking around. I think in his mind he wants to find his girls, and that's what he's looking for. I'm going to try and reposition slightly so we can have a good angle, because that picture is just amazing. Has evaporated. I am sorry. Now I've managed to get out of the thicket. We lost heart, I'm afraid. She's in the area of the old dens, but I am just baffled. I am really, really baffled. So what I'm going to do, as I always do, is check all of the dens on the northern side today. The hyenas have to be somewhere. It's cooler. I think it started off as 18 degrees Celsius today. I can't remember the Fahrenheit. And I'm just looking at this termite mound over here. Let's put it on. Now, we know hyenas have a network of mounds, and we know a lot of them because we follow the Djuma clan. They've all got names, and they just reuse them because they know the mounds are safe. They may be successfully raised cubs there. Maybe their mother used it. But I am more than sure that there's mounds we don't know about. So this one, sadly, does not look like an active hyena den, so we shall proceed. But just before the temperatures get too hot, I think the hyenas shifted to be a little bit more nocturnal, as a lot of animals do in this sweltering heat we have here. And I also think they've moved. So it's not ideal for Lauren, who wants to spend every morning at the hyena den. But I'm going to continue just checking all the mounds in this area. I think Heart is on her way to the cubs.
Good morning and a very nice, cool welcome to andBeyond Ngala. We've just found a beautiful journey of giraffes, 2 older females with 2 very young little ones. There you can see them nicely in the screen. And they're standing so beautifully in this clearing. We actually came here looking for hyenas ourselves. And we found these, and I absolutely love baby giraffes, especially when they're this young, because they still look a bit out of proportion. So my name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide today for andBeyond Ngala. And on the camera we have Owen, working his amazing skills. So if you have a look at these lovely young giraffe, there you can see them in the middle of the 2 females. They're actually looking quite relaxed compared to the females that seem to be more alert. And that's because it's a nice cool day, it's early in the morning. And so for them, they're going to be just checking to see with these young ones that there's no lions or anything around. And we actually know that there was a pride of lions off of our eastern boundary yesterday. And so that's quite close to where we are, and that might be what the females are looking out for. You can see that young one is having a nice groom, giving itself a little scratch where all those ticks might get into the crevices of the joints. The other one's doing the same now. How cool is that? So it sounds completely ridiculous to think about it, but if I was to stand next to one of those younger giraffe, it would be taller than me. They can be 2 meters tall at birth. It's also amazing to think that these females were pregnant for 15 months. Carol, giraffes have a few different names in groups. Usually when there's 2 standing together, you'd call them a tower because they're tall and they're standing next to each other. I think it's called a journey because maybe it's iconic for Africa, but wherever they're going, they always look like they know that they're on a journey, that they know where they're going. I'll find out for you if there's a more specific reason, but I think just everywhere that they go, it looks like a journey because they are so majestic and so unusual and so iconic for Africa because it is a journey for anyone that comes here. It's actually amazing to see that size difference from the mother to the calf. Just takes her up to her tail. So they're actually looking at us now, just making sure of what's going on. There's a very slight breeze. So she's probably smelling us and making sure that there's nothing else here. It's interesting that they haven't started feeding yet this morning. Maybe they only woke up a little while ago. They would have spent the night maybe lying down, ruminating a bit during the cud. And now they're starting to get active for the day. So they probably would move off into those trees and start feeding a little bit later on. So we're going to leave them in this nice clearing and continue on, see if we can find any of the predators. What a lucky start to the day.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to your very own safari from the African wilderness here in Djuma Private Game Reserve, sitting with these beautiful impalas. Looks like they're busy taking it easy, feeding morning greys and browse. And we've been following this trek of leopard heading this way since I know Hukumuri was around last night. But not yet luck. I'm Andrew. The camera. On camera, I have heard this morning. So this is how we're gonna be starting checking around in this area. I know they look like there is nothing disturbed this impala. They look all chill, relax. And all we're just going to do the edge of this clearing here. If this Hukumuri has been spending a lot of time here hunting this impala, and then he should be around. No tracks of him coming south, then was a very dry sand area or soil. We were checking in there. So it's possibly maybe you push it more east, even towards Gari Dam, that area. It's quite a beautiful, looks like all's going to be beautiful sun coming through. The temperature for today was sitting on 18 degrees, 64 Fahrenheit, which is a chance that it may stay slightly cool off a bit. Even though sun penetrate out, but oh, look at these beautiful, a lilac, a breasted roller here, still giving a little bit of a call. Off. Oh, there's another one, so we're a pair of them. Looks like that has got a breakfast on its beak, probably a little beetle. If this leopard around here still, these impala, they're very much in the open there, so he's going to be in the far side in the thicket, maybe wanting to make a plan how to approach if he's around. He won't just going to go through immediately to them. While Smith and Dahl, you want to know what the difference between a grazing and browsing. So a browsing mainly feed on, tall or slightly high tree plants most of the time. Those are the browser, and the grazer are those are taking grasses. So, but here we're looking at the mixed feeder impala. They are mixed feeder. They don't only graze or only browser. So they can do both. So they can eat from leaves, trees. And now they're there, what they're doing right now, they're all grazing. And they're all taking grass. So there's quite a few species of herbivores where they are also browse and graze. But those are the only browser. You mainly find them permanently in a thicket where they depend on trees most of the time. So I'm going to carry on, check these few roads here. Hopefully I come across these leopard tracks and see what happens.
Good morning and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. What we have here is some sparrow weavers, or white-browed sparrow weavers is the full name. Beautiful morning here. My name is Obakeng, and behind the camera there we've got Dave. These sparrow weavers are just getting about the morning business. You can hear how vocal they've been this morning, just advertising there. Another beautiful day with the birds going, and in the background there we've got a blue wildebeest, brindle gnu, also just starting its day. Just walked from a watering hole nearby, which is where we would be heading in, trying to find out what had happened, read a bit of the tracks from that water hole, and they would guide us into the day. little bit of chewing there. Looks like re-chewing the card. Let's go check the dam, and while we do that, I'll send you over to another beautiful location in Africa. Yes, welcome back to the sides of the world, Masai Mara, and looks like my friend Kijana is very busy looking and trying to locate the lionesses. He's in that bush there. He's been sniffing around. One thing about males is that sometimes they get very desperate. There he comes. He's peeping. You see him? Sometimes they get very desperate when they can't find the females, because most of the time they depend on them for hunting. And when they can find them, they can walk and walk and walk along their territory, sometimes picking their scent and finding them, and sometimes being at the wrong place at the at the wrong time. They have to continue looking and looking and looking. They start calling for the females. They roar, and sometimes their call goes unanswered, especially when situations become tough, like right now, when the annual migration has gone back to the Serengeti and there's no wildebeest everywhere and zebra. They have to make do with whatever is there. So they end up sourcing whatever is found, and it can be very difficult. So females just sometimes sneak off and be by themselves. I'm gonna follow this guy a little bit. I hope he comes out and see what he does. We've got a bat-eared fox in the distance there. We're gonna try keep with him and see what he does. Just gone behind the bush for now. It looks like he's still actually on the hunt. They would look for little insects. There he comes out. So look at how he focuses his ears down to the ground, and they would listen for any activity of things like beetles and so on. And they can hear movement of beetle larvae up to about 30 centimeters under the ground, and you'll see them actually starting to dig. So it looks like he's still carrying his business from last night into the morning. Maybe last night wasn't a very successful night for him. Nice to see the way he does it. He's going to be searching around there. There should also be a little bit of termites and stuff around those grievous that he's looking about. So if he finds a termite or ant nests or something like that, he'll start also digging around there. So hopefully he gets lucky around there. Looks like he's shying away. I'm going to try reposition a little bit, maybe. Go back a little bit and see if we can get another glimpse of him. There he is coming out there in the distance, still doing the same thing, just being fully alert of the surrounding. There he comes. Now, once the day starts becoming warm, they'll try find a shade, even use those kind of thick areas for the whole day and start being active again at night. Sometimes you do actually find them using abundant aardvark holes as little barrows for them to stay over the day and coming out at night. He seems a little bit shy, so I'm going to leave him and continue towards the dam, see what the dam is going to offer us.
Well, but beard foxes can be very elusive and very shy. Also, same like my Kijana lion, he decided to hide in the bush, so I moved on closer to this beautiful small herd of elephants that are very busy, doing what they do best, grazing. They also do browsing, and they're loving the grass. It is soft, I believe, because it's been raining. Also, it comes with water, makes it very easy to actually rip off the ground and also, chew. That female there looks like he's got a picnic packed on his back for later. I don't know how he's gonna pick up that, but maybe it had some annoying insects and it decided to throw it there to get rid of them, but it got stuck. But also, I don't know, maybe he's learned that he can take a picnic. Yeah, these animals, no matter if it's raining, no matter if there's so much food, they're constantly on the move in search of fresh grass, consuming a lot of it every day, about 250 kilograms. Here in the Mara, they also can do browsing when they go down to the bushes. But right now, they're out here in the plains enjoying the grass. Definitely, we haven't seen the matriarch because he's off the angle we could have shown you. Matriarch is the oldest and the leader. And she's the one pulling the strings. So there she comes into view. And she's the one pulling the strings, making sure that everybody follows instructions. She's the mastermind of the herd. Now look at her, that's her. And it's a big responsibility to make sure that everybody does well and survives. And so it is a huge responsibility to have about 9 or more lives depending on you. Here, she has brought them because there is plenty of soft grass. Look at the trunk, how the water has affected it. Very much like us. When you've been in water, it tends to go numb a little bit. It tends to change color. And you can see there's a little bit of that on the trunk. It's not cold, so it's perfect for them to be out. Yeah, there was an itch or an insect, that's why she moved the leg. Yeah, that is the kind of environment I'm in, very calm, very beautiful. The air is just amazing, very fresh. And it's only the sound of the elephants ripping the grass. And from the way they're moving, tells me that they're going towards the ranger's post and then past it towards the escarpment. That's where I think she's leading them. Jen, good morning. Is a matriarch ever challenged by any member of the herd? I think there is a lot of respect for her, and nobody would ever overrule her while she is still alive. Of course, if something happens to her, the next in order will try and be in charge. But while she's still alive, while she's still healthy, she's the one that makes decision. She's the one that, tells everybody what to do. Of course, the second in charge and the third and all the other females have a very big role to play for, to actually, ease the pressure to her life. So they will definitely watch onto her, but there is no conflict in taking over the position while she's still alive and healthy. I've seen in cases where they get frail, another one will take over. Just usually they can sense that maybe she's on her last legs. They take charge and everybody agrees to that. This happened when, one for some reason got sick, fell down. Immediately the second in command took charge, but they had to come back to that spot almost every day to check on her. She wasn't moving very fast, and that's how, the hierarchy changed hands. So they don't take the position before she's alive, before she's dead. And here, definitely, she's still got a long way. She's very healthy. Yes, I'm going to leave you with that view while we move on, see what else we can find.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. We've just come to the top of a slow hill just to see the landscape, the expanse of rolling hills stretching out in front of us. My name is Ross, and behind the camera is Craig, and today our plan is to explore the eastern side of the Lebombo Mountains, where the habitat is very rocky and hilly with dense bush and open areas, and just to see what we can kind of find. We're not going out with a plan to look for anything in specific. But this Lebombo mountain range, which you can see towards the distance, is the mountain range that divides Pinda in half. And on the eastern side, which we are now, it's closer to the sea, very sandy soils from when the ocean used to lap against the Lebombo Mountains many thousands of years ago. And, very rugged palm trees, deep valleys and riverbeds. And we'll see today what we can find this side. Safari Kitty, I quite agree. There's just so many delightful shades of green here, and it's because you can see in this one scene so many different types of habitat. There's open plains, there's also one or two riverbeds that are running from left to right of your screen, so there's thicker bush and much taller, greener trees there. We've also had beautiful rain, so the vegetation is kind of rejoicing and growing beautifully green. And then there's the sunlight from behind us, which is kind of coming through in gaps in the clouds and making the green shine out even more in certain places. So last night and yesterday we've been having lots of rain, and it looks like the storm is finally breaking this morning, and it's starting to heat up very quickly. If you listen as well, you can just hear all the birds. Jacqueline, yes, I agree. It's a very interesting sky. It's kind of this cirrus cloud, which is looks quite low to the horizon, but it looks quite thick, so it's got this kind of not white but more dark grey tinge to it. And then the sunlight's just coming through, as well from behind us, because the sun's actually rising behind us. And so it's this very, very angry looking sky with actually a beautifully sunny sort of green landscape. It's such a cool contrast. And I think as the day gets longer, these clouds will clear. It'll be a blue sky, and it's going to be a hot day. You can already feel it. And there's still lots of moisture on the vegetation. Sort of every blade of grass has got a few droplets of water on it. And yeah, I think by the end of the day, the animals are going to be wishing that there was still droplets of water on the grass to cool them down, because it's going to be hot. There's a giraffe just walked out into the clearing to our right, or it looks like it could be two. And it's two giraffes, and they look like they've just come out of the thicker tree line there to feed on something that they're finding tasty. But now we're going to go explore and see what we can find in the bushveld of Pinda. We're going to send you off to another beautiful location for now.
I just came across who I think is a lone bull, Ellie. We are still missioning, everyone.
Good morning. I'm out.
Sorry, it gets me every time. Just a quick update as we admire this bull. Checked all the possible... Oh, goodness, that's terrible views, Niels. I'll move. Checked all the dens on Shibamu Road, or potential dens. Checked Zoe's. It wasn't easy. I think I almost threw Niels off the vehicle. And I'm on my way to the others. Now, it's entirely normal for hyenas, spotted hyenas, or many animals to move dens. For a multitude of reasons, the hyenas, the Djuma clan, really have made use of those filaments dens for a long time, actually. But you now have to think there are 5 cubs, and a little bit smelly parasites are going to build up there. A not so pleasant pong is going to build up, and that can end up being detrimental to the health of the cubs. So it's really normal for hyenas to move dens once the parasite load gets too high. Also, they've got to keep moving. The cubs are getting bigger. Maybe they need to sort of upgrade to a bigger mound. I'm not sure. So I'm still on my mission. Also, if there's been a threat from a predator, they tend to move. But with the Djuma clan, what I've noticed, I've watched Shudulu stalk the cubs, albeit there was no adult there, and I think Trishala had a lioness. So they didn't really move after that, and they also didn't move when Corky got attacked by Darkmane. But it's normal for hyenas to move. It's just not so fabulous for us when we don't know where they've moved to. Hello, mister. Aren't you just lovely? When you see an elephant this size alone, you can guarantee it's a bull. A female would never be alone, especially at this age. She would always be with her herd. Sir 50, I have not heard your name in a long time. I hope you are well in these testing times. Possibly Sir 50, and that's really not what I want, or want to think about. Although in saying that, we do have Traverse in Torchwood now, and we do have Traverse in Buffelshoek. So if they have moved to any of those properties, it would be wonderful for us. If they have moved to Little Gowrie, where they have been before, I was discussing that with Michael earlier, then that's not good news. And unfortunately, hyenas are not ranked of much importance to lodges, and, well, nobody reports them. Did you hear my sigh, Sir 50? That's how I feel right now. So no, it may not be the most enthralling drive from my side of your life, but I need to check these dens, and I want to get round them all before the sun gets too hot, because I think that's when mothers who are sort of circling or nursing disappear anyway. So what that means is that we shall bumble on, we shall say goodbye to this bull. Oh, no, he's coming very close to the car, therefore I cannot. Let's just pop him on meals. I cannot move. So we're just going to sit and admire this bull. Oh, no, you're going to stay with us, which is fantastic. There's no way I can turn my engine on when there's a large bull elephant this close to the car. He's very relaxed, don't worry, he's just feeding. And he really is feeding, do you see that? Some males pretend to feed when they're feeling anxious or not happy with your presence. But he really is feeding. If you just look at his tusks, the left one is shorter. That means the left tusk is his master tusker, so he is more dominant on his left side than he is on his right side. Smell of me. I didn't shower this morning, I'm sorry. Wow. I see you, boy. You walk towards us. We see you. Sometimes the males just like to give a head shake to show. Do you see how big I am? Yes, I do. You're huge. He's listening to me. See, now he's fake. It's him. Uh-huh. His behavior's changed slightly. His behavior's changed, but he's not acting aggressive just yet. But you can see he's no longer actually feeding. He's listening. His tail's gone still. That a boy. That a boy. It's really important that you pay attention to those signs as well. It wasn't aggression, but there was a shift there. And now he's feeding. You see that? Now he's resumed to normal behavior. I'm just going to let him wander off into the bush, do his thing for the morning, and then we'll turn our engine off. So in situations like that, we didn't block his path. So our trajectory is this way. And we stopped to admire him. Now, he actually came to us. But then he realized, oh, what are you? And he took time to figure us out. He was pretending to eat. It's this moving of the trunk, this pretending. But he's not feeding. It's like a distraction technique. And he was listening still, and the tail went still. That was a change in behavior, but it wasn't aggression. So he's just there. So we're going to let him get a little bit further ahead, and then the den check will resume.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. We've just followed on tracks from the dam and found this female cheetah. Looks like she's on the hunt. She keeps focusing in the direction of where she came from earlier, which is the dam. We think she must have her youngsters with her, but they're not babies anymore. I would say sub-adults. So looks like they just behind her there following. Look at how focused she is there. Looks like she's seeing something. Now still looking. Maybe picking up a bit of sounds. And there she goes. Exactly in the direction where she was focusing. A bit of a stretch, just getting ready. And a big yawn. Using the bush to cover up. Don't want to be seen if she does see anything in this direction that she's looking at. Also into the wind, so very strategic, using the wind as cover right there. Beautiful cats indeed, Safari Kitty. They're just elegant. That's what I like calling them. It looks like the cub is also catching up from behind. Just want to see how this plays out. There's the youngster from behind. This is the stage where they should start hunting with mom and learning all the vitals of how to hunt. So they'll stick by very closely. There they go. Almost same size as mom already. Look at that. Still a bit playful. You can still see the youngsters not really too focused on what the mission for the morning is. Good camouflage. I mean, look at that. If you're not paying attention, you could easily miss them. We're going to continue following this female and her two sub-adults and see what happens next. But while we're still keeping up with them, we'll send you off to another beautiful location in Africa.
Good luck, Obi. I have come to... Yeah, we've been lucky to find this beautiful... to find these Jackal puppies over here. And remember, in case, it's the first time you see them, we have seen them before. We've been following them almost for 3 months now. And I think they're about 4 months. They started out being 4, but now we have 2. The last time we saw 3. They were very playful. Then we had an accident. I don't know exactly what happened. I still don't want to remember that. But one died mysteriously it was eaten by something. So these two are the only ones left. They're still under the parents' care. The parents, unfortunately, are very shy. We've never gotten lucky to really meet them and, see them closely. But the puppies are very, very playful. As you can see, they're not going away from us, but very cold. This is the silver-backed or the black-backed jackal. And these guys are very much dependent on the parents for food. Looks like he or she is smelling a scent of a certain animal. The sense of smell is very well developed, and it can differentiate between one scent from another predator to another. And it is very important for them to read that. You can tell he's really revisiting, reconfirming what scent. Could be hyena, could be lion that went through there, or maybe another jackal. Very soon, in another 2 months, they will be able to follow their parents to forage. They will be able to start hunting. But right now, they are depending mostly on their mothers and fathers to bring back, meat that they've swallowed to regurgitate to them. But for them, if they find little locusts, spiders, dung beetles, they will eat them as they wait for solid food to be brought to them by their adult mothers and fathers. Those big ears are very good because they can be able to hear some slightest noises. Some of them we cannot even hear, but for them, they can hear that. The way it's moving tells me that it's either picked up very fresh scent of a certain animal, and it wants to reconfirm if it's there, but also the body language tells me it's very wary. So you see that, yeah, it's not happy. So definitely either there was a leopard that went through here, or a lion, and sitting there watching in that direction. Hopefully it doesn't come back. The pointy ears still trying to listen if it's gonna come towards them. Well, in many ways, jackals were perceived to be scavengers, but they are not. They're very vocal if they need to. They have a home range where they roam freely, where other jackals also roam freely. And they're very associated with other predators. When you see adults somewhere, it's either there is a predator that's feeding and they're waiting for scraps, but they are very, very efficient hunters. T-Rob, did you say they will be domesticated? No. No. Believe me that, if they are different genders, when they find a partner, yes, T-Rob, sorry, will they be well habituated? Yes, they will be, but they will change their demeanor once they find partners. You can tell they are developing survival skills, making sure that the surroundings are safe. Every now and then they have to stand up, so they are losing that habituation that they've had when they were young, and they will turn to be very, very wild. Once they find a partner, things will definitely change. I've seen that happen. They start being very wary even of vehicles. They turn and become very, very different. A little bit of cleaning doesn't break a bone, and that's what this youngster is doing here. I must say, when they're down like this, they're very, very vulnerable, because if there's a leopard, in a tree, it can stalk them. Remember, they don't necessarily kill them, the leopards eat them, but they will kill them to reduce competition. Even lions will do that, so that, in the area, all the food that is left belongs to them. And that's why they will kill them. But they play a very, very big role in the ecosystem because, all those girl with box, how long do the parents leave, the jackals for? They can be gone up to a whole day. And depends on how far they go to fetch the food or to get the food. So they can go for very, very long. It's not their wish, but sometimes situation forces them to stay out longer because coming back without anything, and right now they are not drinking, it becomes very, very difficult because the young ones will start begging, and they're actually very demanding. When it comes to begging, they'll keep pushing for the adults to regurgitate the food, so they will stay as long as they can get something. But if it was their wish, they would come every hour to bring some food, and so they can have a rest. I can tell definitely that the one to the right is picking some sounds, or it is expecting either the parents to come from the right. You can see that. Keeps looking, keeps pointing the ears that direction. Remember, as I told you, those ears can hear certain noises that we can't hear even about 500, half a kilometer away. And that's why it keeps looking in that direction. Well, they might look very vulnerable, but to catch one is almost impossible. They can run very fast, and one thing they can do really well is to dodge and dart. They can, turn at very sharp angles, and they, that's usually the technique that they use because they're not as fast as cheetahs and also as lions. And so they can killed. So they have to turn very fast and dodge, and that's the technique they use. Well, I'm gonna move on. Let's take you to another live location.
Good luck, Isaac. Here we are. I know we're trying quite a lot looking around for that leopard tracks, and there's no luck there. So we come across small breeding herd of elephant feeding still. As you can see, just a beautiful sun shining through this animal. Still quite a great temperature for such a big animal like this to be able to get around and move. And they've probably been spending it a whole night moving, because they're also night movement animals. They can move at night, day as well. Looks like one of the bull right on the far end with this breeding herd over here, which sometimes they do join by male, and they always move off, they leave the cows alone. And that's why they're a system of a bachelor group of males separate and a whole nurturing herd separate, taking care of their young one. Here's the male I was talking about right there. For such a big male, it's no problem joining them. You would probably check any status on these females. But eventually you will move off away from them or join the other members of males out there. And it's actually a great choice for them to be able to move into this all mixed of vegetation here, grasses and plants, all great for them. Make it quite a lot easier for them to be able to feed, graze and browse. They use a very useful trunk they have. As a special tool for such an animal, able them to feed, suck water using this trunk, pour in the mouth. That's how they drink. Jern, good morning. So this is not actually a bachelor head. Here we see, I only have a visual of the big male, and the holes are the females. The rest on the one we just spotted first here, all the mix of the young one. So it is a mix. It's actually nurturing herd. Only that male just joined. Could be two male that are here, but I can only see one. Maybe when we move forward again, I'll be able to see if there is more males. But yeah, it's not a bachelor herd. It's a nurturing herd. So I'm going to move slightly, see if we can keep up with the rest on the far side. We can able to tell how big this group is. And they're so peaceful. They don't make any noises. Sometimes this is what they always love, being in a group. Started to feed early in the morning, so they're not actually get disturbed of anything. So I'm gonna stay around in this herd here, see if they come out for us.
We still with our cheetah. Look at the stealth. That's one of the youngsters. Obviously seen something there. Look at that. Focus, stealth, everything. Anytime might pounce now. Still keeping your focus on whatever he's seeing. Just trying to cover a little bit of a distance. I mean, these guys will start chasing at anything from about 200-300 meters. So probably that's what he's trying to get to. Still not sure what he sees in the distance, but very focused on it. A walk almost like gliding. If you just following the walk there, what you're seeing him passing by is actually a power line just crossed over the main road. Still. Look at that, crouching down. I mean, all the maneuvers that they use, oh, wow. And for them to have seen something from that distance, that is just incredible. I mean, we still haven't seen what he's focused on, but look at that. Wow, the suspense is really building up. There's a bit of a wind turn which might change the whole situation here. Let's see what happens next. The wind has just turned immensely. He might have to reassess. We'll still stay with him. I don't want to move as yet because I don't know how far whatever he's seeing is at. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And while we are waiting to see what happens, let's send you over to another very beautiful location in Africa.
Yeah, we have giraffes here, busy browsing, and take a look at the pattern of these two. Same species, but very, very different. The pattern of the one to the right is the typical, Maasai giraffe, but still the one to the left is Maasai, but with a very, very different kind of pattern. But from the region and where it occurs, it is the same species. It's only that the body pattern does differ from one to the other. Those two are males, definitely. They have those bare top ossicons due to rubbing and fighting in the fight called necking. The necking usually happens when mostly females have to fight the dominancy and also a hierarchy for mating rights. Giraffes out here in the open are very safe because their height and their amazing eyesight is a good advantage for them to see any predator approaching. But remember, they're faced by other elements, mostly human and wildlife conflict like habitat loss and also poaching. That is the two main threats that face this tall animal. They are in the endangered species list. I will always remind you that. But the main one that's really endangered is this Maasai giraffe. The population stands at around 35,000 only. Lorax, can giraffe have twins? My answer is no. I've never seen, I've never heard, and also looking at the size of a female and the size of a young one at birth, I don't think there would be, life ones born if it was to carry two. So no, unfortunately. Well, this is where they are, scattered like this, increases their chance of survival because they cover a huge area. So if there's a predator, definitely it doesn't have a chance here. Remember, in areas like this, they are not hunted because other prey play a big role in providing meals for the predators. Only predators take advantage of them when there is a young one born. They would try to outmaneuver the mother and get the young one. That's the only time, but they are very, very safe. Also, in participation there, you can see we have the Fasa waterbuck. So one of our large antelopes. They're always close or near water. And I'm sure they feel very safe being amongst the giraffes because they know definitely no predator, no cat will try and get close. Oh, there were more. They were hiding behind somewhere. All those are females, no horns. BG, can different types of giraffe mate together? Yes. And it has been, proven. Somewhere up north in Kenya, there is what we call the reticulated giraffe, and the Maasai giraffe have all overlapped the area, and they have bred. So from my experience, I've seen, them not mating, but the very different kind of giraffe that came. Maybe it will become another species in the years to come, but definitely they will breed with the different species if kept in an enclosed or confined area where they meet each other. They will breed. Look at how he stretches the neck. The first vertebra behind the neck is able to almost stretch out straight. You can see that. See that? Allowing the neck to point upwards with ease so that they can have an extra reach for leaves. And if it's not enough, they can actually pull out the prehensile tongue that's almost 18 inches for an extra reach to those high leaves, making them, the only species that can do that and reach for very high trees. The second one is the elephant. Yeah, looks like she's found something to the right. No. They have amazing as a giraffe, and actually being here, I depend on them sometimes to find predators. Look at that, can stretch the neck upwards with ease, reaching an extra maybe 30 centimeters. Maybe there's nothing edible in that tree. Move to the next one. It's like moving from one restaurant to the other, choosing, what curry you want to feed on. It was a very rainy and chilly night, so being out here in the open with a bit of sun on your back is really welcome, and I think that's why, they're all here. And it's just beautiful, as you can see. Gonna leave you to enjoy that as I move on, see what else I can find.
Great, thanks. Yeah, we got finally a visual of the whole herd of these elephants. Now they started to come out to that wood, and they're all just going to march across this two-track road. What we've seen here looks like a matriarch lead them. Looks like they're going to head straight east from here. And the last direction where we saw them, they were kind of like heading slightly northwest, and then she changed them. Now they're heading east. It's a way of directing the whole group here. Her main job as a matriarch, just to make sure they all follow her, and they have to follow instruction from her. Her decision is very important. This one has got a kind of like a little cut of an ear. I don't know what happened, probably since younger. But it's one of the female here. Actually very rare for female to have a very serious fight, for sure. But it could happen sometimes. Something happened when that animal was slightly younger. It's so amazing how they're marching right away from us. So I'm going to stick with them on the other side. And that male, he hasn't coming out yet. So since they already get used to be alone, when it's no business with the females, every time they always isolated. But, you know, we still far in the end. But yeah, it's probably gonna hooked up with them later, and looks like they're gonna come right to the road we're going into. Leopard lover, good morning. So you want to know how the matriarch is chosen. So usually it's in a gene pool and a family reunion here. So that matriarch, she got to make sure when she or in the older age, she rather always got to be her daughter, or if it doesn't work that way, then it's always an experience and a female in this group that will be chosen to take over the whole group here to be a control. So it's always an order of who's going to be the next. If she had a daughter that is actually old enough to be able to lead this group, then that would be the one to lead the group. If no daughter, which it happens sometimes, was no success on having daughter always a male, then of course then experience, or then a second older female, she will be then come in a matriarch. See how they move along this road now. Because yes, it does happen, matriarch die of another accident or in older age. So here there's also always the second one who all of them know that, you know, she's actually a senior of this group. And it always worked perfect, this animal. They always love each other that way. See how they group one another. Since we get here, there is no noises. I was so surprised. Usually when the male's with them, you know, they don't maybe like it sometimes. You find their trumpet and all making noises non-stop. So this is actually very quiet herd of elephant. And now they stop and listening. And then that one looks like it's drinking. That young one. And the mother, no, she's moving. So you find where they're leading it to now. It's got to be either more member, or if this is the only member, and that's where she's going to lead them to for the rest of the day. and it's always change. Place of grazing, it's always change every time, every hour. And that's why they have to move. Sometimes they have to be static, feeding in the same area. And when they do that, they all spread around, all far apart, so there is no pushing one another. So all we've seen there, all the big one, are the females. Eventually they're just off the road and disappeared, but I'm just see if I can able to have another look at them. Elephants also always very interesting animal to see, for sure. Go back to that road there, see if our elephants still available for us. I was busy checking also the tracks here. Looks like it was one of the female leopard that walk along this road. But we're going to first have a look at these elephants, and then we're going to come back, re-follow up. Looks like last night, track's not fresh, but the leopard sometimes surprises you, where the tracks can be maybe older, but then maybe they're not far. So this is something about their movement and their doing. We've got a beautiful group of elephants still moving on. Now it looks like they're gonna do a serious move. They're not stopping at all. Good morning. So it's a few reasons for that. When they move, direct their trunk, the trunk can be about anything from 6.5 feet, and then for sure it's too long, but they can control it by, very strong muscle that trunk have. Sometimes when they release a trunk, would actually even more extend, and that's when they are not doing much in it, or not using it pretty much for feed. So for them to able to release or rest muscles, they have to release the trunk all the way down, especially when they're not on a serious move. But the other way is that they always, when they move their trunks against the floor, when they're trying to other sense where the other group have moved into. So because they also very good on that, that's how they keep up on one another, or finding one another by able to smell where the other rest of the group have moved into. Or when they're static, not doing much, when they sleep, it's one way for sure they can do. They just rest their trunks, put it on the floor, because it's way too long. Otherwise, they can't control it up always, and they have to take that sleep, but only sleeping for about maybe 45 minutes or maybe 1 hour, and that animal's done. It's got to move again, since they spend the majority of the time standing up, moving and feeding. So I'm going to check the few roads here, since we saw that female leopard moving up and down along this road, see what that track's gone into.
Well, good luck with finding a leopard. Here I've got another big herd of elephants that are happy grazing and moving in unison to a destination unknown to them, enjoying the soft morning grass which I believe must be very, very delicious because there's no one who's standing still. All the trunks are heading to the mouth. The cattle egress taking advantage of all the insects that are being, trying to run away from being trampled by those huge legs of the elephant, huge hoofs. And so they are walking very closely to the legs to get rid of those mosquitoes, ticks, spiders, grasshoppers, praying mantises. Every insect that's trying to get away from the elephant will not get away from the cattle egret. Yeah, this is very beautiful here. This is one of the females, very big. It looks like she is enjoying a certain type of creeper. Yeah, look at that. Katrina, do elephants walk on their toes? No, they don't walk on their toes. Yeah, their toes point forwards under the edge of a large pad that they use to walk on, so they're in front of the large pad. And there are 5 in front and 4 at the back. The forward is round and the back is very oval, the pad. So they don't walk on their toes. Yeah, look at that beautiful scene we've got here of them just enjoying the morning sun. Looks like a postcard when you look at it, but it's life. That's a very interesting cloud we have over, hanging over the Olololo Syria escarpment. Just need a wind to push it up, and then it will be very clear. But it's perfect to be there. Shows you the kind of weather that we get and how low the clouds can come. Elephants here have been doing very well recently. Remember, it's the largest land mammal we have here, and they're browsers and grazers, utilizing a lot of grass and a lot of leaves. Very smart, so they'll be whatever they want depending on what they really need. The little guy wants to drink, trying to find the nipple. Looks like that female has been wallowing or either mud bathing. Usually that is to add an extra layer of like skin, using mud that will rid off ticks and other biting insects. She's well known to us, that one, with one task. She is the matriarch of one of the herds here, because these are 2 herds that have come together. This one here in front of us, she's very pregnant and looks like soon and very soon she's gonna give birth. Yeah, the birth of an elephant is very, very interesting, because it's like she sends a message and everybody understands what she's going through. They will gather around, and when she gives birth, there is a lot of trumpeting and rumbling. It's like a lot of joy for the newborn. Doesn't take very long, almost an hour, then the little guy will be on his feet. And they usually start moving on, but it's always very fragile. Linda, how long would they go without water for? Elephants will prefer not to go without water. They are water dependent and they will prefer to drink almost every day. But if conditions to find food forces them to be away from water, they can go for almost maybe a week without, but they can walk very long distances in search of water. but it differs from one area to the other. In northern Kenya, they can go for up to, 48 hours without water. In other areas, they can go slightly longer, but they would prefer to have water every day. You can see we have lots of young ones. The farthest young one you see there, I think, is the newborn of this herd. It's amazing how they graze, and in 1 minute they're facing this direction, then they turn to a different direction. I believe there is, a lot of communication that we cannot hear. And that's why, as we wrap, we're going to zoom into this cysticola, the rattling cysticola, as we take you to another live location.
These cheetahs are still very eminent with hunting. Looks like they're still gonna be going up a little bit of a rocky outcrop here, probably trying to use it as a vantage point, a point of elevation where they can actually see afar and look down, try and suss out what could be in the vicinity. It's a bit of a tough climb for them because it's so rocky. But let's see what happens. Look at all those rocks. It's just a rocky outcrop there. There's no way they're going to do any chasing up there. It's just using it as a point of elevation. The wind has also turned significantly on them, and probably that's why they're looking at an alternative way of trying to see how they can do this. Still going higher and higher. Lauren, what's the biggest prey a cheetah can take? Pound for pound, you're looking at probably something like a springbok with one cheetah doing it. But when you're looking at probably two males hunting or a small family group like this, they can even go a little bit bigger. So I have seen where males would even take a full-grown Kudu female. I've seen the two boys here at Tswalu also attempt things like your young oryx, which is very dangerous with those sharp horns, long, thin horns that they've got. I've seen a small family take an ostrich. So, I mean, you're looking at a 2-meter bird, and it's very quick also on it. So those are the kind of big prey that cheetah would be able to take. So if there's a little bit of help, probably a little bit bigger than what they would normally do on their own, and then that's predominantly what they would go for. But on their own, they'll try easier things that are quick also, things like your steenbok, things like your klipspringer. I've seen young cheetah, like these youngsters, look for things like squirrels at times. And even birds, they catch birds by surprise. Things like your francolins, they'll surprise them and catch them. Guinea fowls, yes, they go for those. So one-on-one, yeah, they'll look for smaller things, but the manier they are, the bigger the prey would be. Still very interested in going higher and higher. becoming cliffhangers there. See now how she's using that. Look at where she's looking, just taking almost a 180 peripheral, just looking at what she can see in the distance, and she would know exactly where to go from there. Reassessing all her options. No, that was not high enough. I think she's going to go a little bit more higher. Well, Sarah, that's a very good question. Would cheetah kill lion cubs? Well, I personally have not seen it, but also think of it this way. If the lion cubs are left alone and mother goes hunting, and it happens that cheetahs do come across them, rule of thumb in the wild is a lot of animals try to eliminate a problem before it becomes a problem. So in that aspect, I would say yes. But if mom is around, your cheetah is actually one of your weakest or your lowest ranking cats when it comes to strength. So they rely more on their speed than strength. So in that case, they would not engage in confrontation. They would rather flee and let it slide, if I can call it letting it slide, because any injury to them could mean that they cannot fend for themselves anymore, they cannot fight anymore, they cannot hunt anymore. So the risk involved in trying to do that is higher than the reward would be. So it would not be worth it. But in a case where the cubs are left alone, cheetahs bump into them, chances are they would try do something. It might not be killing them, it might be chasing them, but they'll definitely try to do something, because when those cubs become bigger, obviously it becomes a threat to those cheetahs. So that's how they would deal with the situation. I think this female is going to continue getting higher and higher up the rocky outcrop here. We're going to probably watch her disappear, and after she's gone, you can see her calling the young ones there. And once she's disappeared, we'll also start making our way and look for other things for the remainder of the morning. But in that note, I'm going to be sending you over to another very beautiful location in Africa.
Welcome back to Pinda, everyone. We are also on a nice rocky mountain or hill here on the eastern side of Pinda, and we've had quite an eventful morning. We've had a flat tire, we lost communications with you guys for quite a while, but we're back in action, and we found a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Kudu cow, and there she is looking at us. How stunning is she? And there's, I think, a few more Kudus behind her, just on the edge of this thicket. And she's just been standing there while we've been quietly watching her, just chewing. And she looks like she's heard something off to that direction. She's just been slowly chewing the cud in the shelter of that little thicket. There's a bit of a breeze, so that might be why she's hugging close to it. But I'm going to maybe try and reposition so we can... Oh, hello. The saga of Ross and Craig continues. There she is. Yeah. Oh, she hasn't moved too far at all. She's just decided to go and find herself some breakfast. And there's the other one. Look at the size of her ears compared to her head. They are just huge, almost like satellite dishes on the side of her head. And she's just swiveling them as she feeds, cupping them from one direction to the next. Just trying to take in all the sounds from all around her. Oh, there's a third one. And because kudu live in this quite dense habitat for most of the time, they rely a lot on their sense of hearing, so that's why their ears are so big. They can also, on hot days, use their ears to give off lots of heat, and they help to cool them down. And they feed on exactly what we're seeing them feeding on now, leaves. They don't eat grass, only leaves from trees and bushes. And so this is a perfect area for them. Look how many bushes there are for them to choose from. Some of them have beautiful green leaves sprouting, which must be tasting absolutely delicious. But they're slowly moving up the hill now towards the kind of the summit. And I'm not sure if we'll have a view of them for too much longer. I don't know if we can see them through there. No. It's amazing how quickly their grey fur just blends in, with this grey, sort of grey-green bush. They're perfectly camouflaged for where they live, which is amazing. We didn't see any male kudu there. Those were just females and youngsters. Those were just youngsters. So the male would have
Well, we're here with this huge troop of baboon that are scattered far and wide amongst these beautiful grasses of the Mara. They don't seem to be very, joyful like normally baboons would do. They would be playing. Looks like they've been rained on and wet, and so it's time to catch up with the much needed sun to dry up. Remember, baboons, these are olive baboons. It's the only type found here in the Mara, and they're omnivores, feed on many types of grasses and plants, including fruits, but also feed on small insects, and sometimes they do hunt. By hunting, they hunt small animals like small impala fawns. That's what they hunt for. Definitely that's a male, and very unusual behavior, but it has been witnessed before. Yeah, parental guidance is needed here because of what he's doing. They have been known to eat their own semen, baboons. Yes, and olive baboons have got amazing eyesight, and they have order in the troop where you find the large males and sometimes the medium males, finding high spots and, playing a role in being the security or the sentry for security reasons. In case of any threat, Boxman, will big cats try to kill baboons? Definitely yes. They're preyed on by all large predators, leopard and lion. And leopard will eat them and also lion will eat them. They're on the menu. So they have to be very wary of those two. They take turns and they're very smart. When you see very many on the ground like this, there is a few sentries, dotted along this area, and they're watching. Either they could be on a tree, a high termite mound, and in case of any threat, one will, call, bark an alarm call that will alert everybody of danger, and everybody will run, to the nearest tree. The tree is the most safety spot for them. That's a really young one. That could be mommy. Yeah, they have a gestation period of 5.5 months. A big baboon can weigh up to around 30 kilograms. And they're very dangerous. They have very long canines, about 2 centimeters, 2.5, that can inflict serious injury. They're very, very fast on the ground and on their force. I don't remember the speed, but you cannot catch them. They are able sometimes to stand on their hind legs for a better view in long grass to detect danger. Every now and then they do that when they're walking in long grass. But here, there is something that they're doing. They're just getting that much needed sun after a cold, rainy night. That's a very young one, maybe a few days old. Very cute. Trying to play with cousin. At this distance, they can hear me and also they can see me really well. I'm about 100 meters away, but they can see me really, really well. Remember, this is live. It's coming from the Masai Mara. Is it Benetrix? I hope I got your name right. Will baboons attack a jackal pup? Definitely yes. Yes, definitely yes, they will attack it. It is a threat to their young, and they will attack it, and they might kill it. Yeah, you can tell they're enjoying the grass. It's this sprobolus grass. Just need to actually get hold of it, put it in the mouth and pull towards the other end, and all the seeds are left in the mouth as they go, and there's plenty of it. So there's no shortage of the sprobolus grass. A bit of grooming there. It's a very essential and plays a very big role in strengthening the bond between the troop. While seated like that, everybody's playing a role, watching around. It is a big threat to have everybody on the ground, very low ground. So the big guys have to be watching. In case there was threat, let's say, for example, something like a hyena or a leopard, it's got no chance with a really big troop like this. They're very dangerous. The only thing the baboon are afraid of is lions. Even humans, don't try to go for a troop like this. You have no chance. Dr. Rocky Balboa, Jumbo, Do I think that if a Tswalu cat could take a baboon? Not a chance in 1,000 years. This is a very formidable and a dangerous primate. Very smart, and those canines and the reflexes it will kill that Tswalu cat in a minute, very fast. Yeah, there's a lot of interaction, lots of grooming going on. There is always a lot going on. It's like a small village. I think there's some water there. That's why they're bending down to drink. They drink very much like human, like how you'd drink water from the ground, sucking it. Unlike cats and dogs that lap it, they drink it directly. And this is a very safe area to drink. And everybody might take advantage. Going to the river is dangerous because of the crocodiles. It's not the only baboon we find in Kenya, the olive baboon. We have the yellow baboon, but it's restricted to the coastal area, eastern area. It's less hairy, so it looks like it's longer. It's got longer legs and bigger body, but it's same size. It's only that it's not as hairy. It's called the yellow baboon. This grass must taste really delicious. They're enjoying it. Remember, the baboons can run really fast on the ground, and they're also very fast climbers. So they might look like they could be threatened by anything, but in case of anything, they can run and also climb. I'll leave you with that sight as we move to the next location.
Alright everyone, welcome back to andBeyond Pinda, and our morning has just got 1,000 times better. We have been so fortunate to have found a female leopard just past where those Kudus were and where we lost you earlier, and you can just see her lying in that lush green grass next to that fallen over tree right next to her, and she's just spending some time grooming herself early in the morning. We were talking about how wet it's been here, and there's still quite a lot of moisture on the grass, and I think what she's doing is just licking her body just to dry herself out as the sun's coming out, to get her fur all nice and comfortable and back to normal again. And then I think she may look to move around, because she is showing signs of yawning and stretching and grooming, and I'd imagine that last night when it was raining she probably didn't want to be out and about too much. Sometimes leopards do hunt in the rain, but often they'd rather just wait for it to finish. And she may look to also trying to remark her territory, because when it rains, a lot of the scent marking that the leopards do actually wash off of bushes and trees and prominent places where they scent mark. So she might actually look to re-scent mark her territory and get her smell back up. Wow, what a fantastic turn of events here. And we are going to sit with her no matter what, just to see what happens. Hopefully she doesn't go into that thick area behind her, because I doubt we'll be able to follow her. But yeah, I think I've had a look, and we know this female. We see her quite regularly here in the sort of rocky ridge lines and this mountainside. She's kind of chosen to make her territory here, and she's about 2 years old. She's a very, very young female. She's just set out on her own, and she's trying to, oh look, she's having a good scratch. Scratching her right side of her face, and she's trying to establish her territory. So Hellcat, you've asked a very good question. Do different feline species compete with each other? And the answer is yes. They are very, very competitive. The way they compete with each other is they normally will kill each other's cubs if they find them. And then there's also quite a definite predator hierarchy. On Pinda, we have lions and leopard and cheetah. Also on the hierarchy is hyena, but they are not felines. And lions are the most powerful. Leopards are kind of second to lions, and cheetah are really right at the bottom of the hierarchy. And whenever any of these cats meet each other, there will be a very unfriendly encounter, whether it's one of them chasing the other one away, and it can actually also get to a lion coming across leopard cubs, and definitely they would kill leopard cubs if they did, because they know that a leopard would kill lion cubs if they came across them. And it's just this whole thing about they competing for the same food. They eat the same food, and it comes back to, the lion doesn't want the leopard to eat what the lion could eat, possibly. Even though generally they feed on different kind of prey species, and they fill different niches in the ecosystem. This leopard would probably eat smaller. She's a young female. She probably eats smaller antelope, like maybe a young impala or a duiker. Even smaller things like birds, like a crested francolin, that lions wouldn't be interested in. They're still highly competitive between each other. So, there's no love lost between the cats. Hellcat. She's spending ages just cleaning herself to keep her fur in perfect condition, keep parasites off. Maybe she's had a small meal, or maybe a big one even, and she's got little bits of blood on her, maybe some fur, perhaps some stomach contents that's spilt onto her, and she's just trying to clean all of that off, so that lions or hyena, which would be drawn to that scent of blood, wouldn't be able to find her. So she's constantly trying to avoid encounters with those predators that we were talking about earlier to keep herself safe. On Pinda, we don't have a very, very high density of hyenas, so it's mostly lions that she's trying to avoid. And interestingly enough, it's very common to see pictures, and we kind of think about leopards as always climbing trees and sitting or lying along the branch of a tree. But leopards on Pinda often prefer to lie on the ground because there's not a lot of pressure from hyenas to hoist their kills up trees. They're quite happy to remain on the ground, hide in a thicket, or like she is doing now, in the grass. And keep hidden in the thicket using her camouflage. So we're going to stay with her. Definitely you're going to see what she does during the morning. And while we do that, for now, we're going to hand you over to another beautiful location.
Oh, you're with us. Sorry about that. Don't quite know what happened to Predlins, but we have been sitting here quite some time watching Mrs. Wig and Olivia. Now, before I go into the owls, she keeps opening her eyes, which is very sweet. I've checked all the dens bar 2, everyone. Long gone are the days where you used to watch us getting frazzled and frustrated, but I can assure you I do not know where the hyenas are. I've got 2 more dens to go, and then I am going to search for Klangula, my new love, the leopard. But we just thought we would stop. It's very important that I stop every single day at the Wig House. And at least we're getting to see her face, and her eyes are all wide open, as we knew they would be. But I'm still not getting to see her on her own. And I'm saying her. We obviously don't know the sex, but I don't want to say it. It's not very pleasant. The head is disproportionately large for the body, the muscles, and the spine to hold up in one place. And therefore, we need to see, is she squatting? Is she standing? Is she moving her wings? What's the feathers like? Is her flight feathers starting to marginally come through? Are we nowhere near that stage? We really don't know, because Mama is always there, protecting her little baby. Now, if you look at Mama's face, it's very well defined. You can see that sort of radar disc. The feathers are positioned in such a way as creates that circle around her face, and it's highly specialized. And then if you look at Olivia, there's absolutely no definition whatsoever, just a lot of fluffy grey down on her head, and it all takes time to come together. A chick doesn't need to have that radar disc, the facial disc. I'll tell you why. The chick doesn't need to have flight feathers just yet. It's not flying. So in order to save energy in the developmental process, everything comes as the chick is developing. Now, that facial disc is to channel in sounds. And the beak, believe it or not, although it's very sharp, owls can be considered raptors, the beak is actually quite flat and pointy downwards. And again, this is assisting in not blocking that facial disc, if you like. That's how important it actually is. And they guide the sounds into the ear opening, that facial disc. And it's just feathers, but it's a specific arrangement of feathers. And they do have an ear hole. They don't have an external cartilage here on either side of the facial disc, but we just can't see. Oh, thank you, Mama. In there, just where that black line is, there's a ear hole. And some species, I believe not all, but I know definitely the barn owls, they actually have their ears, their ear openings, the ear holes, asymmetrically set on the head. So one will be higher than the other, which I just think is utterly baffling. And that's to allow for almost just a split-second difference. Split-second, not even a second difference in the reception of sound in each ear. So it's going to hit one ear before the other in a fraction of a second, and then that allows the owl to pinpoint the sound exactly and catch prey in total darkness. I'm not actually sure. I need to do some research whether that is the case for the spotted eagle owls, but I know a lot of owl species have asymmetrically set ear holes. So we're going to say bye to the Wig family for now, and I'm going to continue my furious search of 2 more hyena dens.
Sorry, Ngala, sorry about that. So we're still in this area where we saw the leopard tracks and cut into one of the block and then we've been driving a few roads out here, and then nothing came out yet. So we're still in the area, and then we're just gonna go back to the last track, and because it looks like there was up and down. Possibly maybe she was on a hunt, and then we're now in a position of where we lost the llama yesterday moving into an area. So I would assume it's her, and then the boundary of a cheetah cut line here. If it's not her, then it could be maybe her mother. So we'll double check what they update there about these tracks. But it's also last night, it's not actually this morning, the tracks. It's always so important just to spend time, look around, because they also do their own thing. They move, sometimes they can be static. Watch around them. So yeah, we'll keep you more updated about that.
What an incredibly exciting morning for us here at andBeyond in Ngala. Welcome back. We found a pack of wild dogs, and they've actually split up. They're busy hunting in this clearing next to the waterhole. And so we're trying to stick with them and see what happens. But this is hands down my all-time favorite animal. They are absolutely incredible to watch, and it's always so exciting seeing them. The wind is blowing quite a lot. That's why this one is moving its ears around. They're trying to find the rest of the pack. Incredibly alert. And look at just the size of those ears is incredible to hear even just the slightest movement. So it definitely doesn't look like this male has eaten this morning. His stomach is not very full. So we're hoping that if we stick with them, we might see them on the hunt. Look at those muscles. So you can see by looking at his coat why they were called the painted wolf. It looks like somebody's taken gold, white and black paint and just splashed it everywhere all over them. Definitely a work of art. Right, so there we've got the other one. Got a lot more white on it. Also sniffing into the wind, looking around, listening. So we've actually got 3 wild dogs here in particular. And we're going to be waiting for the rest of the pack. I'm so happy that we are sitting here right now. It's just the best feeling in the world for me. Even when I get the smell of a wild dog, I kind of start going a little bit crazy because it's just mind-blowing. Such an incredible animal to see, so rare. And we're so lucky to be able to do this. This has absolutely made my month. My first set of wild dogs in a while. Crystal Ann, I couldn't agree more. It is absolutely stunning. He definitely looks like a painting. I think they're actually going down towards the waterhole, so we'll see if we can follow them down there and see if they have a drink. But even just the scenery that we're in at the moment, Crystal Ann, I think it just doesn't compare to anywhere else in the world. In my mind, this is my favorite place in the world. And being able to see wild dogs in this environment is just incredible. It's such a humbling feeling. It's such an incredible feeling that this is what I do and this is my life. And I'm just so happy I get to share it with all of you and that you share my excitement for seeing wild dogs. Right, I'm going to move a little bit forward and see if we can see the other 2 that have gone down towards the water hole. Oh, that one's actually laid down. We've got one lying down. That is beautiful. So they're actually looking just on the edge of the dam here. Not quite sure if they want to go down yet. There we go. I love the way they run. They look like they're trotting. That's one thing that you've got to appreciate wild dogs is how much they love the water. It's always a good time to see them splashing and playing in the water. Still just making sure where everyone is. Oh, you can see he's actually urinating in the water. So that's actually something that he might use as a scent marking tool as well, which is quite interesting. Wild dogs in particular, they use a lot of scent marking tools like urine and feces. Oh, he had a sneeze. Bless you. Oh my goodness. Fur hugger, I think it depends on your personal opinion. To me, I love the smell of wild dogs. It smells like a mixture of almost like a wet dog and a strong smell of their urine. But I think when you've kind of been in this environment and you know that that smell means wild dogs, it's actually a very exciting smell. You can feel your heart rate rising and you start getting really excited looking around to see if you can see them. So maybe everyone doesn't find it pleasant, but I absolutely love the smell of a wild dog because it's just so special to me from all of this. All right, let's see if we can follow them. How lucky are we to be following a pack of wild dogs right now? So this is one of my favorite parts of living in the bush. Wild dogs in particular, especially when they're moving. All right, so we're going to try and stick with them and see what happens.
For anyone to enjoy the smell of wild dogs baffles me. It's one of the worst smells in the bush. Oh, love wild dogs, but hate their smell. I think we have the Wahlberg's chick here. Now, please help me out, everyone. As you know, there's definitely a bird in that nest. There's definitely a bird in that nest. I don't think it's mama, but it could be. The female of this pair is definitely the white morph, Wahlberg's eagle, and unfortunately this nest is very, very high up, so this is probably the best views we're going to get. But your screen will be a lot bigger than mine. Well, unless you're on your iPhone. Is it the chick? They're born remarkably, well, far more precocial than spotted eagle owls are. I remember the other Wahlberg's chick we found last year, and it's not extremely mobile, it's not flying, but its features are completely different. So please tell me, everyone, let us know, am I looking at mum, or is it the chick? If it's the chick, I will be absolutely over the moon. They normally just lay one, but there's definitely those feathers are far too fluffy, I think, to be mom. Oh, yep, show us. Now, Wahlbergs are not the biggest of all eagles. I don't know who this is. I don't know if this is chick or mom. There's different colour morphs. You get the pale colour morph, intermediate, lots of different intermediates, and the dark colour morph. in their development, slightly different from the eagle owl, it says that the down normally turns smoky grey after 2 weeks, and the first feathers appear by 3. I'm not entirely sure we're going to get any sort of view of this chick. What do you think, everyone? It just looks rather small to be mom. But I definitely saw Dad feeding the chick one day. The male provides most of the food at this stage, and it was definitely an adult in the nest feeding something. Now, the female's known to tear up the food for the chick. It's a combined effort, maternal and paternal care, monogamous relationship. So there's definitely, I'm convinced, a chick in there, but I just don't know if that is what we're looking at. Wahlberg's eagles in general are said to have just slightly over 50% success rate. So just over half, marginally. Especially the ones in this area, they don't always raise a chick successfully, which is rather sad. Do we have a consensus, FC? What are people thinking? That this is the adult or this is the chick? Unfortunately, I didn't get a response there, but please keep sending your thoughts in. Definitely somebody in this nest. I'm just not entirely sure who.
Morning, all stations. Does anybody have an idea?
Great, thanks, Lauren. So we came in the position of a dwarf mongoose. As you can see them running around, these guys are very active during the day, and they sleep in one of these termite, an older termite mound, where they have a few of these mounds along the way where they go, and a boundary line where you find sometimes they are in a group of anything from 15 up to 20 sometimes, and that whole group of number, it's quite a lot of young males, females. There is a system of a pair breeder, which is a male and a female. It's just haven't coming out yet in that mound. They still doesn't really trust much. It's kind of a wind. As you can see, they all vanish every time. They're not too sure. And they all feel comfortable when they have a hornbill, which that bird associate with them. Make sure once that bird know exactly where they slept last night, will fly right there and then sit on top of the branches and give specific call to alert them this is actually morning, for them to able to get out and they're able to forage again. And the reason that bird does that is because that bird benefit from these guys as they move. That bird will benefit from eating insect, but it actually applies both. These guys also receive safety from this bird by hearing an alarm call from that bird if it's a danger, for them to go to hide immediately. And they're capable of killing snakes. They would eat from centipedes and beetles, insects pretty much. They are smallest carnivores out here. all birds are green hoopers. Green hoopers, those sounds you can hear on the background. And that's not a warning. It probably does that when they communicate, these birds. These mongooses also, they're highly alert. It's harder for them to be able to trust, especially when they're hearing a lot of calls from the birds, the background. Because they also get hunted by birds from the air, eagles. Sometimes a leopard would hunt them. Snakes would hunt them. But as a group, they win snake a lot of time. And they have a specific calls, especially when they warn each other. And that call, it's kind of like a rattle sound a little bit, but immediately, once it's heard around, all members, they'll respond to it by running into a hide. And they mark their territory by anal glands. So, especially when they get out of this mound, first things they'll go around the mound, go over these bushes, grasses, and all they left a little bit of a chemical, which is secretion from the anal glands. Foxmen, yes, they will definitely. So they deal with the deadly snake out here from puffadder, cobras, mambas. They're very good in that, especially when they're in such a number of 18 of these members of this animal. They always win a mamba quite easily. And they're a lot stronger when they get around, trying to help each other. But they're killed by biting, attacking in the very same time. Finally, snake lost control of not knowing which one to bite. And eventually they got into it. Immediately, it's all done. And it's actually a great system where if they have a young one, they all take care of it. So they cooperate, feeder and movement. So I'm gonna carry on checking here. I didn't actually get luck with any second tracks around, but I'm gonna leave this site here. There's a warthog right there. There's a warthog.
Alright everyone, welcome back to andBeyond Pinda. You see how the attitude of this leopard has changed. She's dropped into a stalking position. There's a warthog right in front of her. So we're going to see what happens here. I'm going to be quiet. She's just noticed this warthog literally seconds ago. And this warthog has no idea that this leopard is here. It's walking towards her. And it's quite a big quite a big male warthog. I'd imagine it's a bit too big for her to consider trying to catch, but there may be others around. But she's still showing a lot of interest. That warthog's actually now continued down the path that it was going on, and it's going more and more away from her. So even though it did pique her interests, I think she was a little bit too timid to take on a warthog of that size, because it had some serious horns on it. It could actually cause quite a lot of damage to her. But yeah, she was very, very, very flat before that happened, and maybe that little excitement might give us some impetus to move around a little bit. Wow, that was amazing. We had no idea what was in the bush that she was looking at, and out came a warthog. So we are going to send you into an ad break now, and we're going to stay with this leopard.
We have found the rest of the wild dog pack. You can see them all running after each other. They're playing, they're making quite a noise. Right, so they're off to our left, they're staying in this clearing. It's always an exciting chase when you're with the wild dogs. You can see how quickly they disappear. So we've got a whole lot of commotion happening in front of us because they're all greeting each other now that they're back. We've got some vultures coming in. Vultures are following the wild dogs looking for scraps. That's incredible. All right. There's another vulture in front of us. Another one. So we're going to keep going, see if we can find them. Hopefully we'll catch up with them soon.
Well done with the wild dogs. I'm here with another new pride of lions that we haven't seen for a few days. It is the Owinos. Where they are, it's the edge of their territory in between Mugoro, Sausage Tree Pride, and their pride, Owino Pride. It's a long way. This is one of the nomadic or the breakaway from Owino, who has been hanging around with our two cubs that are almost 3 years old, all by themselves. The last time I saw, the cubs were on their own, and the mother was also by herself. It looks like they're also doing much of the other animals' what the other animals were doing, sunning, enjoying the morning sun. Like I said, it was a very rainy, cold night everywhere here in the Mara. And so then they are catching that sun. When they do this, sometimes they will pass a chance to hunt because they can spend a lot of time sleeping, sometimes continuous half an hour. And so a warthog or a topi or a zebra might pass by, like we saw a short while ago. It is necessary for them to do this. It is okay. It is part of their behavior, and their body needs it because lions do work out a lot. They walk long distances, and so I can imagine after being in the gym for 4 hours, when you've had a good meal, you need to rest a lot, and that's what they do. These gulls, their territory from here, it stretches almost 15 kilometers towards the northern side of the reserve or of the triangle, so it's a long way. They look very comfortable, although it's a very tricky spot for them to be. Remember, this is the African lion, female weighing up to 120 kilos. At birth, the young ones only weigh almost 300 grams, very, very tiny, but they grow very fast on their first few days and weeks, because at the age of about 14 days, when the eyes open up, they're almost 1.5 kilos, 1,000 grams and above. And within 2 months, they're ready to feed on the first meat. And they live around 15 in the wild and 20 in captivity. It looks like they're going to be here for a little bit longer. So best thing to do is try and find something active. And that's what I'm gonna do.
Look what we found, guys. It's some spotted thick knee. It's actually birds that would be more active at night, but this looks like a nest, so it would be a male and a female around there. Look at that behavior there. Let's just see what they're up to. Just relying on camouflage, hoping that we're not seeing them. And that's why they're standing still under a shade like that. So they would nest on the ground, and the nest is actually made of little sticks and scrapings. Still unsure of the surrounding. They're not sure if we can see them or not. Look at the behavior. You can see they're looking around. It's just trying to look around there if there are eggs or anything around, but I don't see anything of that sort. So it would be just a nest for roosting for during the day. Very quick on their feet. I think all they're trying to do is camouflage and hide. You would see at times when something bigger threatens them, they'll also try try and dive bomb or show other behaviors to try get rid of that threat. So camouflage right now seems to be a strategy for them. I think we're gonna leave them and continue in search of other animals. They being very, very shy with us there.
We've just encountered another lone bull, a different one. Very gracefully just chewing on all the delicious, nutritious and extremely palatable vegetation of summer. I'm going to let you enjoy this sighting. I'm just going to give you one more update. I checked Gwen's den, the one that's sort of off Cheetah Cutline, off Gowrie Main. No luck. Something's living inside of it, but I'm not convinced it's hyenas. So I've got one more den to check, and that's off Battalier, my least favourite. I really hope they're not there, and then I am out. I'm stumped, shall we say. But for now, let's enjoy this bull. Gremlins General, good to hear from you too. You're asking about the elephant population. Are they increasing? I don't actually know. I believe, at least in this area, in the sort of South African area, Lowveld Kruger National Park, elephant populations are increasing. They're thriving. But when you look at the entire population of African elephants, which of course are only found in Africa, the population is still listed as vulnerable, I believe, on the IUCN Red List. Vulnerable, yes, but it's believed to be increasing. And a long time ago, they used to cull elephants because they believed they were very detrimental to the environment. They are knocking things over, they're pushing over trees, which, yes, they do, but that's actually really important. They're a keystone species for that exact reason. So they were either culling or translocating. Now, it's not easy to relocate or translocate an elephant. And I believe 1996 was actually the last cull of elephants. And it was something like 900 elephants per year. Now, whoever decided on that number, I do not know. I don't know how someone within the Kruger can just pick a number and say, this is how much we're going to kill, this is how much we need to get rid of for the populations. I really do not think that is feasible or possible for someone to do, but that's how it was. Someone decided that the population maximum should have been around 7,500, so therefore anything over that was shot. And it came in at about 900 per year. And currently in the Kruger National Park and the sort of surrounding areas, they close water points. That's actually a fantastic way to control the movement of elephant populations. So in winter, not necessarily summer, if you really don't want elephants coming into Djuma, for example, because the land needs to recover, maybe they're doing some maintenance or the vegetation's in trouble, then most of the pans will be dry. Both twin dams, Treehouse, Gowrie Dam should be dry. They weren't this winter, in all fairness. But the likes of Gallagher Pan, we could close that. drain it, empty it, not necessarily close it, and therefore it would mean that elephants wouldn't come into that area looking for water. So it's a rotation. You can use a rotating closure of water points to control elephant movement. It's definitely better than the 3 other options that were used. One was a vasectomy. Now, if you can imagine performing a vasectomy on this lone bull here, an extremely costly and overall not practical solution. Number 2 was contraceptive for the females. Feed the females or inject the females with contraception, obviously based on hormones, but it turned into an absolute hormonal mess. Pumping additional hormones into an animal is not a wise idea. I'm aware that humans do it and it's been tried and tested and all sorts, but pumping extra hormones into a female elephant did not go down well. They turned into, it was just a hormonal mess. It didn't work. And the second one, which is, the third one, which is quite interesting, is immunocontraception. And that's basically where it doesn't rely on sex hormones like your estrogen, progesterone and testosterone, I'm just making up words here. It uses proteins basically that are extracted from eggs produced by female pigs. Yes. And when it's injected into the elephant, along with some sort of immunological substance, these proteins actually stop sperm binding to and therefore fertilizing the eggs. So it's a form of contraception, but it's using an immunosuppressant, if you like. And therefore, the female elephant, the cow, will still ovulate, that will still take place, but no fertilization can take place. So therefore, this sort of method relied on the elephants creating an antibody. And the antibody itself is what stops sperm penetrating the egg. So it's very immunological. And I believe this method has actually been used in different species. I think 35 in total, including horses. And I believe it's been tried and tested on zoo elephants, so elephants in captivity. And I think out of all 3 that I just listed here, this one is the it will be costly, but it's the best solution to control elephant populations. But here in this area, they close water points. Vasectomies are not going to fly. Contraceptives using hormones are not going to fly. So the immunological option is the one that's the best bet at the moment. And that's the sort of tried and tested methods for elephant control. But I believe the populations are increasing, yes. But they're still listed as a species, African elephants, as vulnerable. Janice, absolutely. Absolutely, they're calmer when they're not in must. It's very, very similar to any organism, especially humans. When there's a hormonal fluctuation, an increase or a decrease, we're affected. Our hormones affect us quite severely, especially even in our female monthly cycle. And no jokes, it affects you biologically. And therefore, when a male is in must, the rise in testosterone can be up to 60 times greater. There's a huge, huge rise in testosterone, and therefore it will affect his behavior. He'll become more aggressive. His temporal glands here, he's gone behind the car, are said to swell and cause him a lot of pain as well. So absolutely they're calmer when they're not in must. They're also said to be calmer once they get above 40 years old. They're classified as a gentleman, and I have a funny feeling we're looking at a gentleman right here. He's gone behind the car, sadly, and I don't want to turn the car just yet. He's very relaxed. I'm definitely not going to disturb him. But yes, once they get to about 40 years old, they're classified as a gentleman, and they just generally tend to handle must a lot better, and they don't act like a boisterous young teenager boy anymore. Okay, so we're going to let this bull go, and we've got one more hyena then to check.
Thanks, Lauren. So we came to Bablusuk Dam now. Looking at the hippo. Looks like a few hippos in there. And this is where we saw one of the young baby hippo yesterday. Was on top of one of the mother there. And I think it's about the same. That could be one of the mother in there. Probably just returned early this morning from grazing grasses outside of the water. Where temperature allows them. It was actually very good temperature the whole night for hippos to be out of the water for the whole night. One of the amazing animals sometimes, when they're under the water, they can take anything from 6 minutes, 8 minutes, roughly. So sometimes can be a little bit harder, especially if it's only one hippo in that water hole. You arrive, before you check, you get into that water, and then you got a problem. So all you do is just have to wait before, if you got to do anything in the water, wait 10 minutes maybe. And then you're sure from there whether it's a hippo or not. So we're going to check now the northern boundary. We're not actually coming lucky here of this cat, but we're going to check the northern boundary and head west from there.
So we've managed to catch up with this pack of wild dogs, and they've managed to kill a young impala. And it's been a few minutes and there's almost nothing left, just the rib cage. There you can see it's actually carrying the rib cage with it. Look there, that's incredible. So this one isn't particularly fond of sharing, apparently. But they've all had a really good feed. You can see their stomachs are nice and full. And sometimes it'll take just a few minutes from start to finish for there to be just about nothing left of these carcasses. Especially with wild dogs, the way that they feed is absolutely incredible. It's quite unique in terms of the African bush, because they all just grab on and they try and make it as quick as possible. Oh, that's incredible. Can you hear all the noise? So all of these squeaking sounds, this is them trying to bond with each other and encourage each other to let them have some food. Right, there it goes. Right, so we're in quite a thick spot at the moment, but it's incredible to see this happening in bits and pieces. You can hear all the sounds. I think I'm going to reposition us. Oh, those sounds are incredible. Got some vultures coming in. So that's actually how we found them again. There was a lot of vulture activity because the vultures heard and saw the wild dogs, and so they came straight down to where the wild dogs have their kill. You can see them running up and down. It took us quite a while to find them again, but I'm so happy that we did. Oh, that's a beautiful dog. She's got stunning markings. So it's incredible. Wild dogs are one of the most fantastic species to follow, especially when they're on the move, because usually they eat every day, twice a day, mornings and evenings. It's called crepuscular, where they're active mornings and evenings, and they might sleep in the middle of the day and sleep at night. So we're going to sit here and see what happens. Hopefully they bring that carcass out into the open again. I'm very excited to see if we get some more action.
So we're still on our way to the last den that I know of that we can feasibly check this morning. So I know some of you are very much into the Djuma clan like I am. I know some of you are not, but I'm just going to run through where I've been. Galago, Mvubu, Aubrey's, Zoe's, Shibamu, Firebreak, Gwen's Den, Philemon's Dip. Yes, I think that's them all. If I'm forgetting any of them, please reach out. So the last one is one last year, when Jamie was still here, that we found the hyena cubs in a very bizarre place just off Battalier. It's not easy for the vehicle to get in, and it's really not an ideal den for viewing. It's really somewhere that I hope they're not, but it's the only place left for me to check. So that's exactly what I'm doing, and then I'm going to go loop round to Philemon's Den one more time, and then give up my search before I go completely insane. It's just rather frustrating. We were really getting into the Djuma clan dynamics. We still had hearts to cubs to officially sort of identify their gender. I think it's one boy and one girl. We've got names to give them. We've got all sorts of things to learn and all sorts of things to observe. But that's not going to happen if we can't observe them. So it's round about here that they were using last year once the cubs got a little bit bigger. So a few of the dens that we visited have been freshly dug, but one of them looked like porcupine or warthog. There was no hyena scat nearby. There's no hyena tracks nearby. So that tells you that it's probably not hyenas that are living inside that. Maybe Niels can give you a view of where we're looking. It's very thick. So I'm just looking for tawny bodies and smelling for that delightful odour of hyenas. Now I have to say, when hyenas are not gassy, they're far better to smell than wild dogs. The gas in their tummy, yes, that is something you don't want to get hit with. But other than that, they actually really don't smell bad, in my opinion. Okay, this is the last venture. The mound is up here. And if they're not here, then I'm going to go home and cry. I don't see any signs of life, which means I'm going to go home, sulk, and cry.
So we've managed to catch up with the wild dogs again, and these two are still feeding on the bones and on the rib cage. But it's incredible because they don't seem to want to share. Every now and then they pull the carcass away from each other and move. Oh, something gave them a fright. But while they're chewing, just listen to the sounds of the bones crunching. Farting over the carcass again. It's actually quite unusual that they don't want to share today. Got some vultures coming into land looking for scraps. And this poor one is just following the other two around, wondering when he's going to get some. Look at those teeth. Wow. So this is exactly why following wild dogs is my favorite. There is never a dull moment. Keeps you on your toes as a guide. It's also just so special to see, being so rare. Chasing the vulture. Right, definitely still looking for some scraps. Isn't he beautiful? So I think he's actually going to follow those other two now and see where they've gone to with the rest of the carcass. sniffing where they were chewing it. Maybe some bits dropped off. A little piece of bone or something. I've got another one that's just come in again now. It's got quite a bit more blood on its face. There you can see the blood is all over its face. They're looking for those other two that ran off with the carcass. And there's actually another one now on the left. There, we're getting some more greeting. They are very good at hiding today. Sarah 50, this particular pack is the Ngala pack. So it used to be 11, but we think they had pups this year. Normally we would be able to see it a bit more regularly. Unfortunately, though, with lockdown, we weren't here the whole time. So we did see some pups. We're not 100% sure how many are in this pack, but it's usually between 10 and 15 at a time. However, we did have the biggest pack in the world here on Ngala. At one stage, it was a pack of 36 wild dogs together, which is quite incredible. So now I've got the whole pack coming in behind us. Absolutely incredible morning. This is definitely my favorite thing to do. And we've actually got them all moving around behind us now. They're watching the vultures coming in. There's even some bateleurs flying. There you can see Owen readjusting with them behind us. Look at those ears. It's one thing with wild dogs. They never seem to sit still. They're constantly trotting. Constantly trotting around. They definitely keep us on our toes. We've had such an adventure following them this morning. And there's actually still a few looking for the carcass here on the left as well. They're in the bushes. And running off to follow the pack. So now that they're getting towards the end of the feeding stage, it's actually much more likely that they're going to start moving off, because the noise and the smell would have attracted vultures and hyenas. And so from here, they're probably actually going to move into a different area, maybe somewhere thick to go and have a sleep or some water. So we're going to watch them move off into the distance and see what else we can find this morning.
Well, nice to have wild dogs feeding. Always exciting. Yes, we have a beautiful landscape with our common animal recently, the African elephant, another small head of about maybe 7. I think it's the smallest I've seen in a week. Yeah, they can be from 13 to 15. You can tell it's getting hot, it's warming up. It's not as warm, but definitely it's going to be very warm later on. That is the beautiful scene that I see here. This is part of the Mara Triangle, where it's very wooded, as you can see. So this is what we call the wooded savanna, a mixture of trees, shrub, and open plains. That is an area that was burnt a few days ago. Luckily, we had some rains, and it stopped the fire. The rangers were already on the ground to try and help stop it, but the rain stopped it. The causes are still unknown, but as I explained, there could be only one cause, human, and we have honey gatherers, traditional honey gatherers, who sometimes sneak in, and while trying to harvest, the rangers spot them. When they chase them, they leave the fire burning. The fire usually is to try and smoke out the bees, and a fire starts. and sometimes maybe the bees, the African bees, you know, those are the ones we have here. Very dangerous, and it just takes one to tell everybody that there is danger, and if they sting you, they continue, and sometimes they overwhelm the honey gatherer, and so he leaves the fire. It could be a few causes, and the fire starts. Our small herd of elephant enjoying grass. Remember, Anna Marie, your question wasn't very clear. Do they ever sleep, or do they ever... Could you repeat it, please, the question, so that we can answer it? Oh, got it now. Do they ever split if they grow big? Definitely yes. Yeah, because for some reason unknown to science or to us, breeding herd mainly don't, get to more than about 15. And excuse me, I'll be doing a bit of Australian wave because of some very disturbing flies that we have. So if they get to around 30, they will split to form small herds of up to 12 to 15. Anna Marie, so they do split, and it's only when they get to around 30, 40. I'm gonna be trying to move on, so as we find something else along the road, but this is a very beautiful scene to see them like this. It's a very isolated area, and it's the only small herd that we have here. So maybe the rest are coming this way because they have utilized the other side. But it's full of different types of grasses and browses that they need. So definitely, maybe they are going to be coming this way. Moving on, let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back, everyone, to andBeyond Pinda, and we've found this very serene scene here of just a big herd of impala and two cocky warthogs in the corner there. I don't know if you can see them, but they've just been chasing these impala around in circles and causing absolute panic in the ranks. And have a look, that group that you can see of impala, where there's most of them in one bundle, is just females. There's no males there, but then there's a single male here off to the right, and probably 6 or 7 other males that you can see just in, or that you can't see, just in the thicket on our right as well. So I think this is actually just 2 separate herds that have by chance come into contact with each other. I think it's a herd of females, maybe with one dominant male, and then a small bachelor herd of younger males that have kind of joined up. And what may have brought them here is this beautiful green grass, this sort of ankle height new growth that they're all feeding on nicely, and it's drawn them into these open areas to feed. There's also 2 Cape glossy starlings perched right above the herd, and it's very interesting to watch what they're doing. There's no coincidence that they're hanging around these impala, because as the impala move around, those 2 starlings will sort of catch any insects or small, even frogs or anything that's flushed up by the impalas as they move. And so they use these impalas to their advantage. Also, what they could be doing in this open area is just feeling a bit safer, because although they do feed on bushes and trees, in the thickets it's a little bit less easy to spot predators coming. And we're not far from where we left that female leopard heading into a deep, dense riverbed, and there was absolutely no way that we could follow her. So unfortunately we had to leave her alone. But maybe this afternoon we'll try again for her, because this afternoon I think will be dry enough for us to go off-road and follow animals off-road. So we're not far away from where we left that leopard, and these impala know that there are predators in the area that they should be careful of. And even now you can see there's some of them feeding, some of them grooming themselves, but a lot of them are just looking out, listening for signs or sounds of any danger that could be approaching them. And I don't know if you can see the impala on the far left of your screen. Look at her stomach. She's got quite a distended stomach, and she's definitely pregnant. In fact, I think she's so close to giving birth that we should see impala lambs here in the next few days even, and I'm so excited to see my first impala lamb. We were driving all over. Well, I actually saw my first one yesterday, and we were on WildEarth, and it ran away just before we could show you all. But I'm so excited to show you the first impala lambs from Pinda. I'm not sure if they've seen any up in the low veld, but we've seen one or two here only. And impala are amazing in that they kind of all give birth within a few days of each other. So all the lambs appear magically almost together at the same time. And this is an amazing survival adaptation that impala have had in this area and in the low veld. In some areas impala don't actually do this, but they all have their lambs at the same time to kind of overwhelm predators. It gives each of the individual lambs a better chance of survival, rather than giving birth to lambs kind of periodically throughout the years, and then the lambs could get picked off one by one more easily by predators. So it gives their babies a fighting chance of survival, which is a fantastic adaptation, and that's what makes impala so successful, among a few other reasons as well. Another reason why impala are so successful is because you can see the far left impala is eating grass, where the far right impala with the horns has just been eating leaves, and they're one of the very few antelope that can feed on both grass and leaves and make use of a whole variety of food types. So they can do well in many different areas, whereas some animals like zebra only eat grass, and they only can live in places where there are grass. So yeah, what an amazing animal, and one of the most underrated animals in the African bush, in my opinion. So we're going to spend some more time here, see what else comes out to join these impala in this nice open area, and we will send you off to another location for the meantime.
I've came to a conclusion, everyone, as we stare at yet another termite mound. It's been a riveting morning. Not frustrated at all. But you are looking at Philemon's den number 3. They're here. I'm telling you. I'm going to show you why. If we just zoom into the entrance hole again, Niels, there's fresh tracks. I'm not sure if the camera's going to be able to pick them up, but all along the road that you drive, the 2-track that you drive to get here, there's a very fresh tracks of not just one individual, but many. I can smell them. I know the little cubs smell. I can smell them very strongly. And the third sign is this puddle over here that Niels is going to show you. It's a lovely puddle of urine, which hyenas are famous for. They normally love to lie in that spot, that's ribbon spot. Maybe that's a throne. We just don't know it. Anyway, and they love to urinate as they sleep. This is very fresh urine, hyena urine. They are still here. I'm telling you, my gut is telling me, and I need to listen to my gut more often. They're still in here. I have just spent the last 3.5 hours looking at all other dens, but you know, it's always worth it. But they're definitely still here, and I'm convinced that they've just done a shift in their timing. They've just became nocturnal. Just a few days ago, we were driving in 42 degrees heat, which is unbelievable. It's far too hot. Even first thing in the morning when that sun starts to come up, the heat is far too hot. So I think they've just shifted slightly, and and by the time we get here in the morning, by the time I'm here at 5:30 every single morning, they've gone inside. Another clue is we found Hart, who's one of the mothers, at Treehouse Dam this morning. Now, Treehouse Dam is the closest dam, and it's really not far away. I think she'd been with the cubs, and we just missed her, and we caught up with her at Treehouse Dam. So we can't stay here too long, I'm afraid. If the cubs inside, we can't disturb them. But my gut is telling me they're still here. So it just means keep trying, perseverance, don't give up. But they haven't moved. They may move in the near future, but they haven't. I can smell them. They're still there. They're sleeping. So what a drive. But it's always good to check on the other dens. You never know what you're going to find. We had a little bit of a suspicion that Intima, Ribbon's daughter, could be pregnant, so you never know, we could have came across her. But I think, to conclude, our cubbies never moved dens at all.
So the last wild dog has just moved off, and so these two hooded vultures have just come in to start picking at the remains of the carcass. There's just a piece of the spine and a piece of the ribs left. There you can see the rib cage quite clearly. And so these have been sitting patiently in the trees waiting, but now you can see how frantically they're eating because, speaking of hyenas, it's very likely that there will be some hyenas that might show up here just now to try and finish up these bones. But it's incredibly special to be able to see this part of the cycle where we have vultures finishing off the carcasses. You can see how sharp that beak is. Excellent for tearing away at that flesh. They've also got very big eyes compared to the size of their head, and that's because when they're flying so high up on those thermals, those heat vents that come up from the river, they need to be able to see what's happening down on the ground, and that's how they pinpointed where these wild dogs were straight away. Incredible. You can even see the talons on that one. Look at that as it's stepping on the carcass. So it's actually holding it down to pull the flesh off in between those rib bones. Unbelievable. So I'm actually quite surprised that there's only hooded vultures here at the moment, because normally they might be the first to show up, but there'll be other vulture species that follow them, especially things like the white-backed vulture, which is a lot bigger. So I'm quite surprised that we haven't had any of those land yet to come and steal the carcass from them. Todd, I have been quite close to vultures eating a carcass. I think I have been closer than this on one or two occasions, but with bigger carcasses. One occasion was an elephant that was killed by another male, and the other occasion was actually a buffalo carcass, and we were quite a bit closer. But I distinctly remember when I was younger, we were driving in the Kruger Park as a family, as we do every year, and we came across an elephant carcass that must have had 100 vultures, if not more. And they were right next to the road, and there were just vultures taking off and landing, and just everywhere you looked there was just vultures. So It's not often that we get this close to vultures, especially actually hooded vultures, because they tend to be a bit more skittish or shy. But yes, I have been closer on 1 or 2 occasions. Nick, that is a fantastic question. So on Ngala, we mostly see 3 main species, which would be the hooded vulture, the white-backed vulture, and the Cape vulture. Every now and then, though, we can see a leopard-faced vulture and a white-headed vulture. So we see mostly 5. There have been records close by in the area of Egyptian vultures, but I have never seen one of those. I would absolutely love to. But the main ones that we would see would be hooded vulture, Cape vulture, and white-backed vulture. Oh, there they're taking off. The wild dog is back. What a lovely surprise. I don't even know where she came from. So this particular wild dog is actually my favorite wild dog in the pack because of her markings. She's got incredibly white markings that actually look like her pelvic bone. So when people talk about wearing their heart on their sleeve, she actually wears her bone pattern on her bum. It's absolutely incredible. She is absolutely stunning. And she didn't even come back to eat. She just came to chase the vultures and she's off again. I have no idea where she came from. Oh, that's her calling. Listen. Dr. Rocky Balboa, that's a fantastic question. I think it just depends on the animal. So earlier we did have these wild dogs chasing the vultures, but normally what they would do is they would actually just chase them off, but not actually try and attack them. However, that being said, the Makoti male leopard, which is the young male that we saw in the last few days, he is actually very well known for attacking vultures in their nests and eating them, and he's been doing that since he was 8 months old. In a situation like this, though, all they would need to do is just give the vultures a bit of a fright to scare them off, so they kind of just run and jump at them, and even lions will do that just to protect the carcass if they want to come back for more, but they don't necessarily want to attack vultures for any other reason other than just competition over the food, just protecting that carcass for themselves. You can see how wary this vulture is now that it was chased by the wild dogs. Every now and then it looks up, looks around, makes sure that the wild dogs aren't coming back. So it's quite important for vultures in particular to be aware because they are so heavy that it often takes a bit of a run-up for them to be able to take off. So that's why they're being careful, because if they're in dense bush, they will struggle to take off and then they have a chance of actually being caught. But they're having quite a feast here. Oh wow, look at that rib cage. Can you hear the vultures coming into land all around us? So actually there are 3 white-backed vultures that are sitting and watching, but they haven't come down yet. And I think the reason for that is because it is so thick in this area, and they've just seen that wild dog come back. And so for them, they're even bigger and heavier than a hooded vulture. It would be almost impossible for them to take off quickly in this position. They've got to make sure. There's one coming in now. It's just landed above them. Oh, and another one coming in. So we've got all the vultures starting to take off from the tree and come and land to investigate what's happening. Look at the way it runs. 2 of them. So they have that hopping, running fashion. So there you can see the size difference between the white-backed vultures and the hooded vultures. And now that 1 or 2 have come down, the rest are going to come down. So we'll sit here and watch what happens for a little bit, and maybe we might see a bit of a fight. There you go.
Oh, so amazing that Tess has found you. That amazing scene. I'm very jealous. But not so jealous when I think of this beautiful scene. Oh, look at these. So there's the small bachelor herd of impala that's just come out of the bushes on the right, and they've actually been fighting, and we've been listening to them butting horns and kind of competing with each other in the thicket, not being able to get a great view. And do you hear that sound? They're actually alarm calling. And I just want to have a look at the direction they're looking. Because I don't know if they're alarm calling at each other or they've seen something else. They might have smelled something. And they normally do this when they sense a predator and or hear a predator or see one. And the wind has just sort of changed in the direction in which they're facing. So maybe they've smelt something on the wind or heard something. Now they're kind of alarm calling quite a lot. But often when impala alarm call, they get a fright, like they scare each other sometimes, and then they kind of work each other up. And sometimes they're not as reliable as, for example, Ngala, which when the Ngala alarm calls, you know there's something there. Or a Kudu, you know they've definitely seen something. Impala sometimes a little bit untrustworthy. But I think we'll still definitely have a good look at if there's anything around here. But it seems like they're kind of confused now. The herd of female impala are kind of all standing around looking in all directions, trying to find out what the males are looking at and barking at. But it seems like they're all sort of relaxing now again, and the panic is dying down. So Bundu Bash has asked if there are any black-faced impala in South Africa, and as far as I know, there aren't any black-faced impala, but I will have a look in my field guide, because I know that black-faced impala occur sort of in Namibia, in the sort of northwestern part of Southern Africa. But I'm just going to check in my... yeah. So my field guide says that only in Namibia is where they occur. They look quite similar, except they've got a black mark down their face, and they live in the more arid regions of northern Namibia. I would love to see a black-faced impala. These impala are still going crazy, and it's been mostly this one young bull that's kind of leading the charge. He's the one closest to the direction of where they're alarm calling, and he's the one that's really, really adamant that he's heard or seen something. And the rest of them are kind of just looking at him and what his reaction is. Behind us is quite a lot of thick bush, so if there is a lion or a leopard or a cheetah there, we wouldn't be able to see them until they came out. But we're going to stand by here and check. So I think what we're going to do next is we're going to maybe leave this impala and drive slowly around this area where they're alarm calling at and see what we can find. While we do that, we're going to send you off to another live location.
So we're back here where the white-backed vultures have taken over this carcass from the hooded vultures at andBeyond Ngala. And it's amazing to see how they've been fighting with each other. Look how they hop in to where they need to be, and they actually start fighting each other for the remains of the carcass. Oh wow, look at that white on its back with its wings spread. So it's busy enjoying the sun, I think, but they also might size each other up like that. But that is why it's called a white-backed vulture. because when it spreads its wings, you can clearly see the whites. So the size comparison of those wings are wider than the vehicle that I'm driving at the moment, from tip to tip. It's incredible. So we've actually just noticed as well that with these hooded vultures, there is one vulture that looks a little bit different. Hopefully we can find him again just now. And it's actually got a dark face instead of the pink face. And all that means is it's a juvenile hooded vulture. So we'll try and find it for you and show you the difference from that pink face that you see on the one on the right. Yeah, they are definitely cleaning those bones. It's literally been a matter of minutes since the white-backed vultures came in, and they've completely picked this carcass clean. There's just a few bones left. Here you can see literally just bones. Compare that to when that hooded vulture was feeding on its own just now. It was taking quite a bit longer to really get at those sections. DG, that is a fantastic question. So vultures would start feeding their babies in the nest already. They would start bringing them bits of food. They might even regurgitate. But it's only when the vultures start getting a little bit older that they'll actually start fledging from the nest, and then they'll start coming along to carcasses like this. But normally the adults would have to take food back to the nest for them. Oh, that one still found some meat, look there. That's on the spinal cord. Or the spinal column, I should say. So you'll actually notice that while it's feeding, the neck has quite a few little feathers on it, but the head itself is quite bare. And that's because when it's feeding like this in amongst the rib bones, or even when it's putting its head into a carcass, it wants to make sure that it doesn't get any blood stains on the face that could cause a problem. Oh my goodness, they all just took off and landed in the tree. It's incredible. There they are, look at their wingspan. So they want to try and keep as clean as possible, and you can see all of them took off at once there. They got a bit of a fright, and so they want to make sure that they're in a place of safety where they can't be harmed by predators. But it's actually quite iconic to see them in a dead tree like this one. Megan, I absolutely agree. Their wingspan is huge, especially for something like the Cape vulture. It can get up to 2.7 meters wide. That is incredible. From tip to tip, that is way wider than the vehicle that I'm driving at the moment. And so that's why when you see them in a tree like this, Megan, that they're particularly well known for staying in trees that don't have leaves, because the wingspan is so wide that they need enough space to be able to take off. So here, where there aren't any leaves in that tree, they can actually stretch the wings wide enough to take off. So we're going to stick around here and see what happens. Watch this last hooded vulture finish up that little bit around the spine.
All right, welcome back everyone to andBeyond Pinda, and we found the source of the impala's discontent, and it's these 3 warthogs that have been causing a ruckus here, just probably about 100 meters up the hill from the impala. Here they are, 4 of them. And they're actually three youngsters and what looks like mom, probably last year's youngsters that were born a year ago, and 2 of them have been tussling quite a lot. They're looking very playful and boisterous and making a bit of noise, and I think that's what alerted the impala to the presence of them. The impala couldn't see what they were, so they decided to just alarm call regardless. But now, look what they're doing. They're using their very hard little snouts and their lips to just chomp up some grass, and they're grazing into the late morning. They look all very, very urgent about how they're feeding. They're in like quite a rush. Maybe they've got somewhere to go. But also just look how their tails are gently swishing, swatting away the flies as they feed. Look at this one, he's just looked at us now. He's got a very white face. Looks like maybe he's got some ash from an old burnt stump, perhaps, on his face. And he's, been tinged white. Wearing a Halloween mask, a little bit late. These youngsters have these beautiful hard bristles on their neck, kind of sticking out. Actually quite beautiful, even though these are warthogs. They're kind of known to be not the prettiest animals here. I actually think those manes are quite handsome. So you see this warthog right in front of us, the one that's got the white face. Do you see he's got a set of warts between his tusks and his eyes? So almost in the center of his face. When he looks at us again, there you can see the one in the center. And then he's got, another pair of warts further down. That tells you that he's a male. He's got those two warts. The mother behind him, you can see she, in exactly that same place, she hasn't got any warts. So that's how you tell that this is a little male warthog. We're going to continue trying to see if we can get another view of them. I think they're probably going to continue to feed. It's nice and cool now, so even though it's midday, they can go on feeding quite comfortably. The sun's not so bright. But for now, we're going to send you off to another beautiful African location.
Now, I haven't managed to find much today. Djuma's extremely quiet, but we have got our trusty old reptile. This is a young one, can tell by size. I don't think this is a fully grown water monitor lizard. But look at those claws. Now they get much larger in sort of length and girth, if you like. They get much bulkier, a lot more muscle mass, and therefore I know that this one is a juvenile. So at least I got some sort of conclusion to my madness with the hyenas, and I believe it's been a very wonderful and lots of variety of animals seen on today's drive, and of course Olivia. So from myself and all my colleagues, we just want to say thank you for jumping on board. It's always a pleasure to have you on the back of our safari vehicles. Thank you for all your comments and all your questions. We shall see you this afternoon. Have a great day.